Now, I do know that there are certain banks offering temporary buy down programs and things like
Mhm.
that are more beneficial to the client when they are in a transaction. What does Cross Country currently have, and what does that look like for a temporary buy down product?
Yes. So great question. I actually held a seminar for about 25 agents within the last 30 days to specifically talk about temporary buy downs. And I feel temporary buy downs in a very high interest rate market, which we are currently in, but getting a little bit better,
Mhm.
is one of the most attractive ways to make a house more affordable. You know, the slogan we've seen over the last 90 days, you can marry the house and date the rate. Okay,
Yes.
so now we're in a great market, as you understand, where people can get great deals on great homes because they're not competing against a
Right.
lot of people. So actually, there are four types of temporary rate buy downs that people can take advantage of. There is a 3-2-1 buy down, which covers a 3-year span for your interest rate to be 3% lower than what the market bears in year one, 2% in year two, and 1% in year three. That is the most expensive option out of the four because you're setting aside a 3% rate reduction over a 3-year period, 2% for the second and 1% for the third. So that is a very expensive option and the least popular because of the market we're in where a refinance boom is coming. There is a 2-1 buy down, which is the standard that you hear most people talking about, and that covers a 2-year span, 2% on the first year, 1% on the second year. There is a 1-1 buy down, which again covers 2 years, but 1% the first year, 1% the second year. And then the cheapest and the one that I've been selling the most of is a 1-0 buy down. And that is just a 12-month, 1% rate reduction to make the house more affordable for a client buying a home. Now, this money from a temporary buy down subsidy is paid for by either two people, the buyer, the lender, or the seller. Buyers cannot pay for their own temporary rate buy down. That is a guideline specifically set by the federal government in regards to temporary buy downs. So it is either paid for by the seller, which you can negotiate in your offer, or you can have the lender pay for it, which on some cases I've actually paid a lender credit to cover a temporary buy down of a 1-0 for a client to
Mhm.
make that house more affordable for them because as rates rose, it didn't want to cut their purchase power down. So let's
Right.
say they were shopping at 300, but as rates rose, that price went to 225 and the house became, not as attainable anymore for their family. A 1-0 buy down can technically make that house more affordable and have them afford that 300 range like they were shopping previously. So all great options from the most expensive 3-2-1 all the way down to the cheapest, the 1-0, which in my opinion is the best out of them all, considering the market we're in and what we're going to see in 2023 at some point with a rate drop.
Yeah, and I think that's a great option. And fortunately, negotiations are back, sellers help, things like that. So it's just another tool in a buyer's pocket to get through this tough market. And it really is um different because there's a house that sits for 90 days and right next door there's a house that's 10 offers still.
Sure.
So and that's definitely a reflection of that changing market and being in the middle of that. And so I think that that's a really good tool to use with negotiations coming back into play.
I've seen it a lot. And again, being in this business for so very long, I've seen the market shifts and
Mhm.
changes. And I push this to even listing agents who have homes that have been sitting for a while and they just want to try to find ways to be combative. And this 25 agent panel that I recently did a webinar for, I broke down the numbers of price drops and price reductions as a listing agent. You dropping the price of your home $15,000 in this market does not make that house more affordable for a
No.
client who can't afford the interest rate that comes with that mortgage. It makes a minimal difference to their payment. But if in your listing remarks on your listing, you're open to contracts that have some sort of buy down being offered by the listing agent or the sellers of that home, that house now becomes more affordable at the original price. So you don't have to do a price reduction. And the cost of obtaining a 1-0 buy down is actually minimal compared to a $15,000 price reduction that I see so very often when I look at listings for new buyers. Well, this house is now $15,000 cheaper when they could have sold it for the same price offered a buy down at $3,000 and made that house more attractive for a buyer. So, it's a weird market to be in, but it's thinking outside the box, being creative to help sellers and buyers alike make a house more affordable.
Well, and even on the seller side, more marketable because what
Hmm.
looks better is as a listing, deducting your price by that much or offering an incentive to a buyer. So that's definitely something to keep in mind on the seller's end as well for offering, a buy down.
Yes,
So,
yes. And seller concessions are even a bigger part as well. Now,
right.
here's the good thing, you don't have to specifically state that you're doing a buy down. If you go into a contract negotiation and state that the seller agrees to pay $10,000 in seller concessions for the purchase of this home, you can use that money as you see fit. You can take a 3,000 portion of it and do a temporary buy down. You could take the other 7,000 and use it towards closing costs. So it's a very good way to think outside the box and work together from a buyer's agent and a listing agent to make a house and make a deal. So it's, working together to satisfy everybody in a transaction.